Tonight Live with Tush. Well, of course, as we close the day, there is a lot that I want us to reflect on. Many years ago, possibly about 40 years, Uganda took the flag for being one of those countries that came out and claimed they had a very large number of people living with HIV/AIDS. And of course, the country was recognized on international levels. Today, as we speak, the greatest challenge we have, especially for our generation, is we could as well imagine that HIV/AIDS is no longer existing. Worst of all, the young people are no longer scared of it. Better yet, even if they were to be scared of it, do they even know that it exists? Yes, that is something that I want to pose before you. And tonight on Tonight Live with Tush, we are very humbled to have a young lady who started out as a young, energetic advocate in very many areas of life, until one day she discovered that she had HIV/AIDS and her channel changed. She could have perhaps lost her own life, but she chose to make something better out of her life and living as she moved on. Ladies and gentlemen, as you sit there and watch, help me and join me in welcoming our guest tonight, Miss is the right title, right? Yeah. Miss Sarah Aporo, a very, very interesting self-proclaimed HIV/AIDS activist. Welcome to the show, Sarah.
Thank you, Tush.
How are you today?
I'm very happy that I'm able to come and join in sharing more about myself, not only about myself and furthermore what I do, and speaking about HIV/AIDS. It's a topic that I'm very passionate about. No matter the time, right now it would be maybe in bed, but I'm glad that I'm able to come and join and share more about HIV and AIDS.
Wow, amazing. Sarah, I will pick two words from what you said. One, you're very passionate about it, and two, even regardless of the time, you're actually able to come and share with the young people or whoever is actually watching. So to start with, where do you pick such passion from? Tell us about your journey. How did you end up advocating against HIV/AIDS?
Okay, the journey started way back in 2017. Some people wonder whether I joke about it because maybe they tend to see a different kind of a person living with HIV. And what I've got to know is from 2017 until now, things have really changed about my life in that I'm accountable to people as well as others are accountable to me. I was born HIV negative.
Oh.
I grew up HIV negative until the age of 21 years where I contracted HIV. And from that time until now, it's been a journey that from 2017 January 2017, it's been a journey of challenges whereby I feel bad knowing that this virus still lives and sometimes people tend not to focus on it. Yeah.
Wow. That's quite, I would say, interesting. And again, I'm wondering, 2017, initially before that you're saying you were HIV negative. What was your life like before you knew that you were HIV positive?
Before I knew that I was HIV positive, I was careful about my life, but I wouldn't say I was 100% careful.
Right.
Maybe that's why I contracted HIV. One, the reason why I'd say I wasn't 100% careful, I didn't take the initiative to test with my boyfriend then to know our status.
Right.
So I was a person who was very careful about my status. I was a student because before I was a student living normal life.
At the university?
Yes, I studied at MUBS, Makerere University Business School.
Right.
And while at MUBS, I was a guild speaker.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I was a guild speaker. So I really had so many people that were accountable to me. And that created, I'm a leader.
Okay.
Passionate leader.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Interesting.
Yes.
Then how did it come to a point where you actually discovered you had HIV/AIDS? What happened?
It was one afternoon where I never forget that day. It's one of the days that I'll live to remember because it's the day that I decided to do a HIV test expecting my usual negative results. I was a blood donor before. So usually before you donate blood, they test for HIV, and when they find you're clear, they will definitely take your blood. So I always expected my usual negative results, but that one fateful second of January of 2017, I went to the MOBS clinic and tested HIV positive, and that is when I say a new journey of my life started, where you have to change from HIV negative to a status where there is no cure. You just have to keep taking ARVs every day. So that was one reality that had to strike me so bad. It was a tough day for me. It was a tough beginning of the year for me. Yeah. And so it was after testing that I got to know that I'm HIV positive.
Oh my. And I can't begin to imagine how you felt. Could you share with us some of the feelings that you had at that moment when you found out that you had HIV/AIDS?
Okay, my first reaction, I knew about HIV/AIDS and before, but I didn't think that I would ever be a victim of HIV. And that was a time I knew that people who are HIV positive take ARVs. I knew that there was no cure for HIV. But that day I remember falling on the doctor's table and telling him, "You mean I have to take medication for the rest of my life?" And yes, the doctor was quite honest with me, and he told me, "Sarah, yes, for now, that's the best that you can do." So I had to ask. That was my greatest fear, having to take ARVs every day. So that was my first fear, because usually we start on treatment and we tend not to finish the dose for any other infections that we could incur along the way. But this is a drug that you have to take whether you feel fine or not. You have to take it. So it was quite a terrible day for me. I left work, and I work at Makerere University Business School, and I'm very grateful for the institution, because through it I got to know that I can still live a fulfilled life, because my employers never said that, "Sarah, you tested HIV positive, you gotta leave work." No, they didn't do that. Though there are companies that tend to fire their employees because after discovering that they are HIV positive, which is very unfortunate. So I'm so grateful to MOBS, where I'm currently still employed, for accepting me in the community, even with my status.
Wow, that's very interesting. Now, here you are worried about taking medicine, and yet I would think that under normal circumstances, most people would have fears of parents, family, even friends discriminating them. How were you able to overcome such fears?
My story is quite unique, because one of the first people that I shared with my status got to accept me the way I was. I remember that day I told my boss that very day. I told that day I didn't meet. After 2 days, actually the next day of testing, that was on 3rd, I told my boss I'm undergoing a situation and I need days off work, and yes, he gave me days off work. But now when I finally disclosed to him that I tested HIV positive, he was very supportive. Those words still ring into my mind, and it gives me morale to go for work every morning. I'm motivated to work because one, my boss, my immediate supervisor at that time never saw a difference between HIV negative Sarah and HIV positive Sarah now. So the support I received was quite interesting, in that my family, I didn't share with my family before. I only shared with my brother at that time. And that night he came and spent the night at my place. Maybe he was, my elder brother Peter. He was maybe scared of probably what will happen to my sister, because I told him, you know what, I just tested HIV positive. That night he was with me. I remember that night I kept waking up in the night and pondering upon myself that this is something that I have. So the support I received from my employers, from my employer, from my brother, and later on, after my graduation, I shared my story with my entire family. We had a family gathering, and I just stood up and shared with them my story, and wow, the support I received that day, I just can't believe that this is the family that accepted me the way I am. But Tush, I would like to tell you that this is not what happens to every person. There are families, there are stories we have heard about when one of the family members tests HIV positive, they're discriminated, they're chased out of their home, they're isolated, and things have really changed. Apparently. So yeah, I received massive support from my friends who got to know about it after now coming out public, because it was a terrible moment keeping it to myself. But now when I came out to the world and shared with the world, the support I received gave me the courage to keep moving on each day at a time.
Wow, that's really amazing. And of course, like you said, it's a great appreciation to your family and employer for being understanding. Now, what happens to you and your boyfriend? First of all, did you find out how you contracted it?
My boyfriend, I told him a day after that I just went to his workplace and met him and shared with him my status. And he told me, Sarah, that means I'm also HIV positive. And that made me think of the fact that, yes, maybe he knows that he's HIV positive or not. I still can't verify that. Right. But I had to take him immediately to test because I needed to be sure that, yes, he's the one who gave it to me. And yeah, I was certain about that. So we went to a health clinic of my choice. Right. And he did a test and it turned out HIV positive. So he is also living with HIV.
And your relationship, is it still on, or after that you two?
Even before discovering that I was HIV positive, the relationship was already on rocky ground. So really, that wasn't, I wouldn't say that after discovering my status, that's when we decided to part ways. I didn't see the seriousness on his side. I thought that maybe after discovering our status, we would stick together, but I didn't still see the seriousness on his side. So I decided to move on with my life, and I think that was the most important decision that I made, having to move away from a hectic relationship. Wow,
that's really interesting. Now, here comes a point where after discovering that you're HIV positive, yes, your family comes in and it's supportive, your employer comes in and is supportive, and people like me who are your friends on, for example, Facebook, out of the blue, we see you posting it on Facebook. How did it feel when you disclosed your status to the rest of the world?
Okay, when I disclosed my status to the rest of the world, it was, the reaction was quite not what I expected. Sometimes I expected maybe people would go against me for one reason or the other. Right. But the support I received, friends that used not to know, because I kept it away from them for about 4 months. Okay. So these were friends that didn't know the person that they were staying with was HIV positive. Right. Some called me while crying because because you know, when you're staying with someone and you don't know they are HIV positive and you speak ill against those who are HIV positive, not knowing that your friend is HIV positive, it hurts. So every time any of my friends would speak ill about people who was living with HIV, I would just cry in my heart. I'm like, look, the person you're sitting next to, in my heart, I wouldn't tell them because I wasn't open. I would just tell them, look, the person you're staying with is actually HIV positive. So it was quite a hard moment. Yes, my friends had to call in and send me messages of support and all that. And up to now, they've been very supportive.
Oh my. Yeah. Well, yeah, you know, Sarah, you had made me promise to remind you at exactly 10 you have to take your medicine.
Actually, my alarm is on.
Yes.
It's reminding me.
Amre, I need you to come and sort this alarm issue out. But meanwhile, do kindly share as you take your medicine. Do share something with us. Okay.
These are ARVs. I take one tablet a day. Okay. And it's a combination of efavirenz. It's quite a combination of 3 tablets in one.
Okay.
So before, people used to take 8 tablets and all that, but I thank the medics that they're working every day to ensure that the pill burden is reduced.
Right.
So since it's already 10,
it's
I
10,
believe,
yes, it's exactly 10 actually.
I always want to keep my time for
Yes.
taking my medicine. I carry it in this pill box because it's a little bit easier to
Yes.
carry. But this is the bottle I usually carry my ARVs, my antiretroviral meds. So
Okay. And how long does this take you to finish?
in each bottle there are 30 tablets. 30 tablets. So usually I'm given 90 tablets for 3 months. So I pick my medication after every
3 months.
3 months. Yes.
Okay.
So
Free of charge.
free of charge. Yeah,
Wow.
that's the best
That's a very
thing.
special appreciation to the government of Uganda,
I
I would
wouldn't
say.
imagine. Yes, the government of Uganda is really helping out with its partners and ensuring that we have this medication free of charge. Because I wouldn't imagine someone out there who can't afford to buy Panadol for 100, having to know that they're HIV positive and they can't afford ARVs. But apparently the drugs are free of charge. That's why I can
Amazing.
freely take them, because it's not that I'm happy that I have to take them. I take them because I know it's because of this tablet that I'm healthy.
Yeah.
It's because of this tablet that I'm sure that I'll live 80 years plus.
Wow.
It's because of this tablet that I can go for work. I can live a fulfilled life, of course, including other things.
Yes.
So as I take my tablet, if you're outside there and you know that you're living with HIV, you're not alone. We are in this together, okay? It's not bitter. It's just tasteless. I used to dread.
like aspirin.
I don't know how aspirin tastes, but to me it's not bitter.
Okay.
I just take it, and I used to dread Septrin, but since I became undetectable, I was taken off Septrin, so I take my.
Oh, I need you to share with us that, of course, the undetectable bit of it. Wow. Well, I'm going to ask about it. So, our dear viewer, I think you've just witnessed something quite interesting that you may not know can actually happen to you, well, or even someone that you love. Wow, I'm impressed that you. Okay, you know what? Let's take a very short break. We're going to come back and I'll be able to express my words very well. Let's take a very short break, dear viewer. When you come back, we'll be able to share more with our dear Sarah Aporo. Okay, welcome back from that, dear viewer. Now, did you know that according to a report from the HIV prevalence group, 1.3 million people died of HIV in 2018 alone. Better yet, let me make those statistics much more clear for you. In 2017, we had 1.7 people living with HIV AIDS. And of those, it is reported that over 26,000 passed on just in that year alone. Now, those statistics are normally something I rarely rely on because the research rarely trickles down to the layman who is down in the village. It rarely trickles down to your neighbor. But they give us a glimpse into what the reality could be. But normally the reality is more. So, don't forget, before you went for that break, we were still talking about how to live positively with HIV/AIDS. And of course, to address that is our dear guest who has revealed to us that she works at Makerere University Business School, but her life mission is actually to advocate against HIV/AIDS. Join me in welcoming once again to the show, Miss Sarah Aporo. Welcome once again.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Sarah. Now, before we went in for a break, you did something that any lady out there would call very brave, and any person viewing would actually call more brave, you know. You took your ARVs before on national TV, and you went ahead to explain to us how easy or difficult it is to access them. Now, here comes my question. What exactly does it mean for someone to be diagnosed with HIV/AIDS, technically?
Okay, technically, one, you will need to you'll need to accept your status. Though majority of the people that are diagnosed with HIV, they rarely accept their status, not because they do not know that they're HIV positive, but because they do not want to deal with what the society has to offer to them, that stigma. Stigma is, to me, I fear stigma more than the virus itself, because once a person is stigmatized, the only thing that they ever think about is leaving the earth where the people who stigmatize them are. And what does that mean? Death. Suicide, and just finding a way of making their lives short. So to me, it's quite unfortunate that, yes, one, you have to deal with the fact that you're HIV positive. No one will come and help you accept. Yes, counselors will come and tell you here and there, do this and that. But at the end of the day, you need to look up to yourself and you're like, this is a new journey that I have to start. That's the first thing, accepting that you are HIV positive. You can't turn it back. I usually tell people who are HIV negative that they have a chance to choose to either live negative or choose to go in for being positive. But to us who are HIV positive, we have no option as of now. We have no option because we can't be negative again. Every time I walk to the health facility and maybe I do a test, random test, it still remains positive. Yes. But those who are negative, it remains negative as long as they keep themselves together, as long as they are not exposed to the virus. So that is the first thing, accepting that you're HIV positive. I will confess, it's never something that is easy to deal with, but it's possible. I've lived through it. I've got to accept my status. That's why I'm not embarrassed sharing my story, sharing my status to the world, because I've accepted it. Come what may, I've accepted it. I can't change it. I can't change it. Yeah, that's one. Then the other thing that you need to deal with is having to take your ARVs every day. Yes, there are people who face challenges. Before I came public about my status, when I'm in a public place, I have to either run to the washrooms to take my ARVs so that I am not identified by the tablets that I'm taking, because people are always curious. Why is she always taking this medication? So if you're not in public, if people do not know about your status, you would find someone running to the washrooms to take their tablets.
You're right. Yes. And now that you talk about it, I'm reminded very many people jokingly will diss a person who is simply taking any medicine. They're like, hey, dagara liomazeno olifuna, you know, and they are normally referring to ARVs.
Yeah, people tend not to watch what they speak.
Yes.
Sometimes they speak out of ignorance, but I believe in the mindset of watching what you speak, because you do not know what it impacts on the life of the other person. There are people who just post anything on Facebook, not knowing that their parents are actually HIV positive.
Right.
You may be there and you think all is well around you, but whatever you do, you need to be conscious of the people around you. You need to always be conscious about the people around you. So that is one thing. Having to take your medication, that's positive living. Having to take your medication every single day. My alarm never forgets to remind me that, Sarah, hey, it's time to take your medicine. And that's one thing.
And this is once a day? The medicines are taken once a day?
Yes, the one I take is once a day. Unfortunately, there are people that probably started the medication way back and they have not yet got a suitable combination for them. So you find them still taking 3 tablets. There are children that take 8 tablets a day. It's quite unfortunate. I feel pain for them. I'm like, no, I take 1 tablet a day. But there's this young child of 8 years who has to take 8 tablets a day. It's quite cumbersome for them. So that's the other thing that you have to deal with. Then you have to deal with the people around you. Oh my, people speak without knowing that it hurts.
I can imagine.
It does. I'm open about my status. Not that whenever they speak something ill, it hurts me because I'm HIV positive. But I feel for those who are dying slowly, those who have not come out public about their status. So that is basically how it means to live with HIV in this kind of era.
Wow, well, thanks for sharing with us. Now, I do understand that, again, on a medical angle, the reason as to why as you were taking your medicine, you said that you used to take Septrin?
Yes.
And that was before you were undetectable.
Yes.
Well, what does that mean? Now, I've had people refer to a CD4. What is that?
There are 2 things. There is a CD4 count. That's the count of the white blood cells that are in your body. That research shows that when the virus is in your body, it tends to it tends to eat up the CD4 cells. That's why those who are HIV positive and they are not on treatment and for other reasons, they tend to have a lower CD4 count. However, when you start treatment, the virus is suppressed in such a way that these ARVs do not cure the virus. They do not cure the virus yet, but they suppress the virus. They make it go to a state of being dormant. That's why since 2017, I've never fallen sick. I've never been bedridden. I go for work, come back, and so it helps to suppress the virus so that it doesn't come out and destroys your cells and all that. So that's one very important part of ARVs. Now, when we talk of suppressed viral load, viral load is different from a CD4. CD4 is basically the white blood cells that are in the body, the count.
Okay, pause a bit. Sorry for cutting you short. So if I get you right, the CD4 count, or the CD4 rather, is another word for white blood cells?
I wouldn't want to say it's another, but it's kind of related to
the white blood cells.
Yes.
So this strengthens the white blood cells so that they are able to fight off any other diseases.
No, it doesn't strengthen. This works on the virus.
Okay.
Now, the Septrins that I used to take helps to fight any other infections, because it's believed that once the white blood cells are weakened, it will not be able to fight any other opportunistic infections that may come along. So that was the importance of Septrin to my body. Now, the reason why I was taken off Septrin, because one, my viral load was suppressed. It's undetectable. Up to now, within a period of 6 months, I was undetectable. really thank God for
That's
that.
a good thing, yeah?
It's a success on my part because it shows I'm taking my ARVs so well, and it shows it's compatible to my body.
Wow.
And the virus is not resisting to the ARVs. So that is one success that I really count. So that is about the suppressed viral load. And yes, research shows that, yeah, this is something that I know many medics refuse to believe in, but I will tell you that, Tush, once I'm undetectable and I remain undetectable, I cannot transmit HIV sexually.
Amazing.
Yep. I am very certain.
So you can get married to an HIV negative person.
Yes.
You people have a positive life together, and wow, you don't transmit sex to him, and you don't even need to use protection as you're enjoying your marital obligations.
That is it. The campaign is U equals to U. Undetectable equals to untransmittable.
Amazing.
Once I'm undetectable, I can't transmit. However, you need to. Some people, when they think, when they become undetectable, they think they need to stop. Since way back, because I became undetectable within 6 months, I never stopped taking my medication. In order to maintain that, I need to continue taking my medication. So so much is being done in the HIV world, and we are hopeful that a cure will be found soon.
Wow.
Yes.
That's quite amazing. So one thing comes mostly to mind.
Yeah.
You did mention that the ARVs could that it shows, rather it's a sign that your body has not rejected these ARVs. Is there a point where it actually rejects them?
Yes, there are points. There are people who are suffering to find the combination that works well for their bodies. That's why you'd find someone has started taking ARVs within a period of 1 month. They have rashes all over their bodies. Some of these side effects, yes, they have side effects. I've not faced any life-threatening side effects since I started taking my ARVs. So there are people that face the side effects of the drugs. One, it shows that it's not compatible, that either the virus has resisted to it, and sometimes it comes about when you start taking your ARVs and you reach a point and you're like, I think I'm so tired of it, and you give up on it. By the time you come back, there are high chances that the virus will have found a way of playing around with the drugs that you're taking. So that period that you give it rest, which is very dangerous, gives it a chance to resist the drugs. Yes. So it's better not to start than starting and stopping, because there is a way. This virus works like human beings. They change here and there.
They adopt
to a lifestyle, because now they're dormant, because there is no way they can get through my blood and try and fight with my blood cells and what, because this drug has kept it under bay.
Wow.
Yes.
Amazing. Now, Sarah, I'm tempted to ask you about your private life, but I will ask this at the end of the day. I want to know that there is someone special, and but that will come at the end of the show. For now, I just want to know, in your journey as an HIV/AIDS advocate, what have been your highlights and challenges? Perhaps you may want to start with the challenges.
Okay, one of the challenges is we may have the passion to reach out to everyone. Basically, I do this out of free will. It's voluntary work. I move to schools and talk to the people, to the students. Some of them get surprised when they see someone saying, I am HIV positive. They don't expect that. Now, that is exactly what I want to put in their faces. Because usually when I stand in a gathering and I ask them, can you guess whether I'm HIV positive or not? Majority of them will say I'm negative. Then when I tell them I'm positive, they'll be like, wow, that's when you see the whole room is cold, and they're wondering, oh my God, this lady is HIV positive, and she has just shared with us. So to me, it's quite interesting, because yes, by coming out, people have worries. Will you ever get married? Will a man ever accept you with your status?
And the children.
Will you ever have children? That's not my worry, because I know I can always have a husband of my choice. I can always have children who are negative.
Yes.
Negative. That's why I religiously take my medication, because I know I have an obligation to make my children that have not yet conceived should be protected by the time I conceive them and give birth to them, and you know, all the procedure of raising up a child. So it's the journey of activism is challenging, because sometimes you have the passion to go deep down into the grassroots, but you're unable because you're limited, maybe by funds, you're limited by time, and so few people get up and do this work that we're doing.
Right.
Yes.
Interesting. And in general, I would imagine there are so many people there who could be suffering from HIV/AIDS or any other diseases like cancer, especially those that are incurable, and they are stigmatized. Now, as an advocate, what would be your response to such a group of people, especially those who are watching us right now? Okay,
well, one thing I always tell people that in life things happen for a reason. One, I may be HIV positive. Yes, I got it sexually. That's a different case.
Right.
There are people who contract HIV at birth. Right. Those are children born with HIV. There are those who are raped and they contract HIV. There are those who, without knowing, they share needles and all that and contract HIV without knowing. There are doctors who have got infected at their fields of work. Right. Not that they were reckless, but somehow, somewhere, it just happened. Right. So by the time you get to stigmatize a person, have you really understood how they got to contract the virus? Now, this goes to any other illness. People, it's quite unfortunate that people don't look into themselves and consider that what the other person feels. It's sad, because before you get to think that is a dead person walking, I'm alive.
Right.
Yes. Why would you say that I'm dead when I'm actually alive? The people say that is a walking coffin, and they have all the languages that they have to say about people who are having this kind of illnesses. Majority of the people never call these illnesses themselves, and all they need is definitely support from the people that are around them. Yes.
Right. Well, interesting. Now, Sarah, we are left with a very short time. Unfortunately, only 5 minutes. Yeah. But in these 5 minutes, I'll go personal. If you're free to answer. Are you free to answer?
Okay, not so personal. I tend to live on.
Yes, you need to live some life for you, to reserve some life to yourself.
Some life for myself, because, you know, media is quite funny in that people tend to focus at every little bit about what you do. So I tend to.
I understand. So for now, let's leave the personal bit out. And now, along the way, as you were taking your ARVs, you did mention that the government of Uganda has been supportive in providing these medicines to especially those who cannot afford them.
Yeah.
What else do you think needs to be done in order to address the HIV/AIDS? Is it still an epidemic, by the way?
Yeah, to me it's still an epidemic, because something that chews you from the grassroots, something that chews you from the inside is still an epidemic. Though people are not dying out of it openly, like before you just find someone dead, and when you discover the person has died of AIDS. I say I'm HIV positive, but I do not have AIDS. AIDS comes about when you acquire these other opportunistic diseases that come along, and you find yourself weak and bedridden, and before you know it, you're either really down or close to death. So to me, yes, the government of Uganda has done so much by ensuring that every time I go to my because these drugs are really free of charge, that's one thing. Ensuring that these drugs are available, that is one thing. But also we need to note that there are hospitals that get to lack these drugs. I'm lucky that for the 2.5 years that I've lived with HIV, I've got to take my drugs very well and get them on time. But the hospitals that do not have sufficient supply of these drugs, and I hope that the government of Uganda can ensure that these drugs are available, because it's the reason that we are productive. If we are all bedridden, if all the people who are HIV positive are bedridden, there would be the productivity would decrease, because the people that you see so happy in offices will begin to die out slowly. So I hope that these drugs are always available in the health centers. And it's not all about drugs. It's one thing to give me a drug, and it's another thing to give me a drug and I do not take it.
Right.
That is why I encourage support groups, where I have a support group where we meet as ladies and we discuss, we share how it has been, how the drugs are taking us. So those support groups are good, because once you get to know that you're not alone in this journey, you're encouraged to take the medication. So it's not all about giving someone drugs, but following up and ensuring that this person is okay and living positively with HIV.
Wow, interesting. Is there anything else that you feel the policymakers or even society out there needs to do to address this issue?
Yes, I know there's a law that is against their employers who tend to discriminate people who are living with HIV. I am very productive. I'm proud of myself for that, because despite being HIV positive, I do not take that as a reason for not performing at work.
Right.
And that brings in a point where there are policies that are in place, but they are not being implemented, whereby once I'm fired because I'm HIV positive, what has the government done to ensure that really this is not happening to all organizations? Because gone are the days where people think that when I share with you a glass of water,
that I'll get infected.
I'll get infected.
Yes.
Those are just the things that we need to drop, because there are ways a person can contract HIV, and once those ways are put in place and right, there's really no risk of transmission.
Sarah, you've mentioned one myth. Let me call them myths.
Yes.
Actually, let's call them myths.
Yes.
What are some of the other myths that are around HIV and AIDS? What do people think about those two that is not true, including the fact that if you share, it is assumed that if we share a glass of water together, we'll all have HIV/AIDS. It is assumed. Okay? So someone watching will be like, Tush has taken... Okay. What are some of the other myths that we need people to know that they are not right?
Okay, there are so many things that some people... Okay, even just by sharing with you a space, people tend to think you'll contract HIV. Maybe if I'm sweating and I hug you, people think that you'll contract HIV. Surprisingly, even some people think by sharing toilet seats, you will contract HIV. Those are myths. You can only contract HIV from me if there is exchange of blood. That is the only thing.
Okay.
Even through kissing, I can't really transmit HIV, because you need tons and tons of saliva to contract HIV from a HIV positive person. So it's only when there is contact of blood, and I repeat, it's only when there is contact of blood and those other secretions that come out of the body fluids, not unspecific body fluids. So they're just myths. By the time I can share with you, I can do anything with anyone as long as there is not contact of blood. For instance, when I cut myself and probably I get in contact and you have an opening of blood, and maybe we share, that's when you can really but there's so much that people need to work on. Because there are people who will refuse to employ maids because they think they're HIV positive. And
why would you fear to employ a maid because they're HIV positive? Are you going to use? Are they going to mop your?
No. Anyway. I know they're
and I know they are there.
Yes, but that's why you'd find if I'm searching for employment, I would prefer not to. Me, I'm okay. I'm free. You either take me with my HIV or you leave me.
Right.
Now that's me. But there are people who hide out from other people because they are afraid of losing their very passionate job. And for instance, I know why people fear to employ maids. They think maybe the maids will infect their children. And yes, I wouldn't I would not want to rule out the fact that there are people who are malicious.
Yes.
Because there are people who are outside there, they know they're HIV positive, but they're still sleeping around with people without telling them their status, without protection. Yes, there are people who are so malicious. We need to be conscious of that.
Kindly address them.
Okay, yes.
Some are watching.
Yeah, there are so many people who are malicious, and you need to be conscious of them as well. But not everyone is that person. There are people who are actually different from the other, from the others. Like me, I will never willingly say, you know what, I'm giving someone HIV. No. Yeah, so it's important to note that despite the fact that there are bad people, just like corruption, not everyone is corrupt. You not say that because in a certain sector people are corrupt, everyone is corrupt. There are people who are not corrupt. So in that state, you would know that not everyone is of the same character as the other.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, Sarah, as we close up, first of all, I am more than grateful that you honored our invitation to come and share with us.
I'm glad that you had invited me.
Yes, indeed. And of course, to our dear viewer, we are humbled to see that you're able to sit with us and watch all this. What would be your final remarks to the audience out there? What advice do you have for them?
Okay, my final remarks is HIV still exists. Let's not lose the hope that we still have for those who are living HIV positive. Yes, HIV still exists, but we need to be careful. Those who are HIV negative, you still have a chance of keeping your negative status, and through that you have all the means possible. Test with your spouse, be faithful in your relationships, because there's one thing to test with your spouse and another day you find the person is HIV positive. So there's no point of faithfulness there. So be faithful to your partners, and use condoms when you must and abstain when you should.
Wow, interesting. There you go. You heard it, of course, from our dear guest tonight. That is Miss Sarah Aporo.
And one thing I just want to encourage those who are HIV positive. Yes, it may be a hard thing to deal with, but it's my humble plea that do not think of taking your life. I still need you as Sarah. I need you to live a positive life. We can rock this. We can fight this until the cure comes.
Have you got it? We can fight this until the cure comes. And of course, there is hope that the cure will come. Recently, I was reading a story where I think it was in Britain, when a UK patient was tested negative for HIV/AIDS after he had lived with HIV/AIDS. And I think he was undergoing a radio... rather
was a cancer patient.
A cancer patient.
Yes. At first there was a Berlin patient. There are now two patients. There's a Berlin patient. They call them Berlin patients. They have names. And currently now there is a UK patient.
Yes.
But I would think those kind of treatment, it cannot be done to every person living with HIV. Me, at one point, I'll just need a tablet that I'll take and say, for this 3-month dose, after 3 months, you are HIV negative. Wow. That's what I would really want. So the two people who have got cured of HIV, it may not be a very practical means of saying that we have finally got a cure for HIV. It's quite an expensive procedure to take.
You're right.
And one, they were not being treated for HIV.
No, they were not.
They were being treated for cancer, and
it
to
turns
their
out
luck,
it cured.
It also cured, through the red bone marrow transplant.
Indeed, thank you for that clarity. And of course, it's a sign of hope, I want to think.
Yes,
it's a sign of hope. 1 minute malaria was killing us like no man's business. Today, as we speak, there is a number of anti-malarial measures that are available for that. So it's a sign of hope munange. Now aliyeyo nga uli embere ekalubyeko lwa kigambo sirimu oba eri virus eleta sirimu munange oba muganda wange Sarah kyava okugamba kituufu toggwamu maani obulamu bwo kyabwetaaga Katonda yakussaawo ku nsi eno obe wa mugaso. And I want to say this very strongly. There is no one on earth, on this face of the earth, without a purpose.
Yeah, true.
Be it a 1 year, or rather a 1 day old baby. They all have a purpose.
True.
So how much more useful are you who is beyond 1 day of age? You get it?
Yeah.
So you play a role And the moment you choose to terminate your life, you're not going to be the one losing out. It is the people who would have benefited from your life that are going to lose out.
True.
So I want to take this opportunity to encourage you the same way my sister Sarah has encouraged you. Do not lose hope. It's not the end of the world. It is perhaps the beginning of a fresh journey where if you stay focused and set your goal right, you will live it out as a positive person, living positively in a positive way with a positive spirit, despite being HIV positive. So, again, we want to appreciate you for tuning in to Tonight Live with Tush. If you need this recording, we are going to post it on YouTube. Kindly find it there so that you're able to catch up with us. Those who have been with us on Facebook, thank you so much. I know there are some people who have sent you messages on Facebook. Who are those? I want to appreciate Arukuru Priska. Then we have Naptel Olebo, who says he's watching it live 13 minutes ago. Olebo, you said you were watching. Thank you.
Brenda Labby.
Brenda who?
Brenda Labby.
Yes, Brenda Labby. Oh, yes, I see Brenda Labby with double I. Thank you so much.
James,
you are amazing. Thank you so much, James. We have Ziwa Saint Ivan. You are amazing, Ziwa. Thank you so much. I hope you are able to get that channel on GoTV. We have Shafi Adams. Thank you so much. And so many others who are watching this show. You are amazing, and you are the reason as to why we exist. So don't forget, we are with you every day, Monday to Friday, 9:30 to 10:30. Thank you for watching Tonight Live with Tush. Stay tuned for more programming here on Smart 24 TV.
Thank you.
Thank you.